Okay, welcome back, everybody. Actually, and I forgot to mention this when I was doing the other movie review. Um, in this series, I actually, if you're watching this from a playlist, I added at the beginning of my thoughts about Corey Haim, the late actor, passing away. Suddenly back on March the 10th, that I wanted to share with everybody. You know, That's in the playlist if you want to see it. Look for Movie Reviews Part 8 if you want to see it at the beginning. That aside, now for the next movie review I want to do, and this one was one of the ones I seen in a theater. It was last year. It's based on, a nonfiction book written by Brian Burrow. And it's called Public Enemies, America's Greatest Crime Wave and the Birth of the FBI, 1933 to 1934. It's Public Enemies, and it was co-written and directed by Michael Mann. It's of course set during the Great Depression, and it focuses on the true story of the FBI agent Melvin Purvis, who's played by Christian Bale, Mr. Temper Tantrum on the phone thrower, trying to stop criminals like John Dillinger, played by Johnny Depp, Babyface Nelson, played by Stephen Graham, and Pretty Boy Floyd, played by Channing Tatum. I really love this movie. It's like I mentioned here, just a little bit ago. It's based, on a true story. And of course, the movie starts off with John Dillinger and John Red Hamilton, played by Jason Clarke, in 1933, going to the Indiana State Prison under the guise of a prisoner drop. Dillinger and Hamilton overpower several guards and free several members of their gang, including Charles Malicki, played by Christian Stolt, Homer Van Meter, played by Stephen Dorff, Walter Dietrich, played by James Russo, Ed Schaus Jr., played by Michael Vanu, and Harry Pierpoint, played by David Wellman. The jailbreak goes off just fine until Schaus beats the guard to death. Then a shootout happens and the gang gets away, but Dietrich gets killed and Dillinger kicks Schaus out of the car to die. And the rest of the gang gets out of there and hides in a farmhouse where a crooked cop from East Chicago, Indiana, Martin Zarkovich, played by John Michael Bolger, convinces them to hide out in Chicago where they can be sheltered by the mafia. And then it switches to where, you see over in East Liverpool, Ohio, Melvin Purvis, played by, of course, Christian Bale, as I mentioned earlier, and other FBI agents are trying to run down Pretty Boy Floyd, Channing Tatum. And Purvis is able to kill Floyd and gets promoted by J. Edgar Hoover, who's played by Billy Crudup. You should remember me talking about Billy from Big Fish. I'm glad to see him make another movie. And Hoover's, of course, trying to expand the Bureau into a national police agency to lead the hunt for Dillinger, played by, of course, Johnny Depp, and declaring the first war on crime. And, it's just on and on and on about how, John Dillinger would rob banks and get away with it and go running, out of there. Of course, after Purvis tries to lead an ambush at a hotel where Dillinger was staying and it failed. One of the agents is shot and killed by an occupant of the hotel. And Purvis, after the man escapes that they were trying to find, Purvis realizes the killer wasn't Dillinger, but was Babyface Nelson and Tommy Carroll. And Purvis requests that Hoover bring in professional women who know how to catch criminals dead or alive, including Texas cowboy Charles Winstead, played by Stephen Lang. police finally, and I'm reading this pretty much from Wikipedia, the police finally catch up to Dillinger and arrest him and Dillinger's group in Tucson, Arizona after a fire breaks out at the hotel Dillinger and his gang is hanging out at. And Dillinger, you know, tries to size Purvis up and, tells Purvis that Dillinger knows about the agent that Nelson killed and all this stuff. And, they talk about, all the stuff about, like the few inmates that are there with Dillinger, like Herbert Youngblood, played by Michael Brent, carve a fake wooden gun and use it to escape the jail in Sheriff Hawley's police car. But, it gets really good. And what ends up happening, and it just goes on about how, the movie just goes on about how, like, it all ends up winding up, where, Dillinger goes to the movies, and, they use, the Madame Anastasia, played by Britannia Cadillac, with, to get her to cooperate by, threatening to send her butt back to Romania, where she's from. And, they, get Sage to go take Dillinger to see a Clark Gable movie called Manhattan Melodrama at the Biograph, with another lady. And what happens is once the movie ends, Purvis and the rest of them move in, and what happens is they manage to, of course, kill Dillinger. And Agent Winstead, who fired the fatal shot, listens to Dillinger's last words. And later, Winstead goes and meets Franchette, who was in love with Dillinger. And Winstead tells Franchette that he thought Dillinger's dying words were, "Tell Billy for me, bye-bye Blackbird." Well, and then the crazy thing is it says here, the closing text reveals that Melvin Purvis quit the FBI in 1935 and died by his own hand in 1960, and that Billy lived out the rest of her life in Wisconsin following her release from prison in 1936. And I'll tell you what, it was an extremely good movie. I mean, I really do highly recommend it. Of course you have to be very careful. It is a bit on the blood and guts side. But Johnny Depp makes a wicked bad criminal. Really good. He's very convincing about it. I liked him a lot better in this movie than I did in Pirates of the Caribbean Part 2 and 3. They stunk, in my opinion. But this movie, Johnny shows, how creepy good he can be. But I want to thank you guys for watching, and I got another movie review, okay? Hang on.